Yo, what's up, y'all, man? Welcome to the show. I am your host, Marcel, known as the Wealth Mentor, founder of Griffin Speaks LLC, and author of A Trade I Made. Because this is the goal. The goal is to change our family's money story, but we have to make a decision to make a trade to change our money mindset, right? The way we think about money, and of course, how else are you going to become the wealthy sibling if you don't change the way you think about money and just this society, right? Our economics, the culture's economics needs to change, right? So, this is why we having such a direct conversation. Hey, y'all, the culture needs to adapt, or we're gonna get left behind. You think we at the bottom of the totem pole economically and otherwise now? I am going to caution you to be aware of how fast we may be falling. And even as a society, not just individually, as a culture, but as a society, from the higher class, the middle class, to lower class, one of these may disappear. So you need to adapt. We need to adapt, or we're going to get left behind. This is the economic, and the economy is in a repositioning, right? Institutional growth, automation disruption, AI is everywhere. Some uses are good. If you love the clips, hey, some uses are good. Ownership strategies and being strategic in real time as much as I can for you guys. And I do want to say I appreciate all the new subscribers and new followers. It's Marcel Griffin. Marcel Griffin, the YouTube is where we host this as our media arm and Griffin Speaks. But this is where you can find it. And then you'll find all the clips on all my other social medias. Marcel Griffin is pretty much where I'm at. Marcel is short for Marcellus. In regards if you want to book me officially, you know, so forth. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. But I do want to hop in because I feel like I haven't visited my hood in a while. I haven't visited my neighborhood. I want to talk about Chicago. And I really want to talk about, while there's been a whole bunch of culture shifting and employment shifting and a whole bunch of other shifting, one positive thing that has been shifting is we're in a relocation era where we're finding benefits that we never did and that we never thought we would. Like, Chicago State is launching football. Shout out Chicago. Shout out to Chicago State University. It is honored as an HBCU, whether you like to believe it or not. It's honored as an HBCU. Shout out to the Qs and the Kappas. And there may be some alphas at Chicago State University, which is right down the street from my neighborhood and actually still might be considered Roseland, depending upon how you feel. But it's right off 95th and King Drive, south side of Chicago. And I appreciate that. But we also are going to talk about, Walmart. It probably still in continuance, but they did have a hiring freeze. A lot of people had a hiring freeze, but for it to be Walmart, Walmart was one of them staple jobs. Like, Walmart was one of them places, bro. You can go work at Walmart. Like, if you wasn't getting hired nowhere else, that was one of those. Hey, bro, I'm gonna put the application in. I'm gonna call up there. You for to go work at Walmart like tomorrow or next week. So for them to have a hiring freeze is like, what's going on with the world, let alone what's going on with the job market. But the other thing, while we may have these concerns, and there's some positives about college, right? All this Chicago State and D1 football, but there are concerns about, the current economy. Will my kids get a job? Will my teenager get a job? Can young adults get a job? A person who you may not suspect is investing back in, especially our culture and our youth as Black people. It's Cam Newton. He reinvested in his own paycheck in HBCUs. So, and this is one of those, bro, I do this and I don't talk about it. So, like, a lot of the things that I put, on the forefront of highlights of my credibility and accreditations and the things that I've done for my community, to empower my community with my $9 to $5, right? He do it and don't say a word. We are humble giants, right? It's just now that I'm speaking as a humble giant. I put the G in giant because I am that big, and I believe that that is why God put me to go through these things to become the wealthy seller. Because you got a duty, you got goals to get to, you got to get to the bag, right? What do I say on this show and everywhere else? If you follow me and my content, salute you. Well, we here to get to a bag. We here to build wealth, take action, and set goals. That's what we doing now. Let's say we not in a quote unquote recession. This is true. We are not in a quote unquote recession, be upon definition and our government administration or society is stating. We are in a redistribution of capital. That is a real truth, right? We in a redistribution of capital. So with that being said, how do we in our everyday neighborhoods, especially on the south side of Chicago, take advantage or align where our kids still are today, which is in athletics? How do we make them achieve and be successful in this world, in this state, in this economy, right? Well, Chicago State, specifically Chicago State football institution, is leveraging the NIL, is leveraging the athletics, the skills that our youth have, and that they can be possibly most profitable from, right? So they announced that they're having their inaugural football season in 2026, but they're having a new program infrastructure that's rolling out, and they're expanding their athletic footprint. For me, that means shout out to getting into and officially being established as a D1. D1 has always been a term, right? You want to go to a D1 school, D1 football league. D1 is an establishment stating that we are the best of the best around the country, not just my city, my state, around the country. Now, why is this bigger than sports? Launching football programs is not just about touchdown athletics, because I used to be a wrestler and a lot of wrestlers were football players, but also play lacrosse. Here's the truth of the reality. As much as I teach, because I don't like to say I preach, as much as I teach that there are other vehicles, which is why I have a wealth strategies class, but there are other vehicles that can lead you to a prosperous life, a wealthy life, a rich life outside of athletics. Athletics is still the go-to spot for our kids. But I would rather this generation be the most economically money aware than ever, because they have a new flux of, even before they get into the major leagues, getting a bag, right? And this is the economical engine that they're used to, right? Now, here are some of the financial implications, and there actually are a few. We're gonna run through them though. What does the how does you becoming a Division 1 football program, you know, develop and generate money, a stream, revenue? You increase enrollment. So now that makes your school seem established, and to get to that point to where Chicago State is going to be more notably recognizable in a neighborhood that, and I looked this up today, that at the day of filming this in March, um my neighborhoods and the surrounding neighborhoods are still considered low income and poverty stricken neighborhoods. So for Chicago State to be on 95th and King Drive on the south side of Chicago, having the opportunity to get out of state tuition revenue because we're becoming a D1 school, increasing enrollment applications because we are establishing ourselves as a D1 athletic program. You have alumni donations, you have corporate sponsorships. Yeah, Chicago is cementing itself, and this is still a place to be and succeed. You have media rights and partnerships, because now with to me with D1 comes um in ESPN. And then you have merchandise revenue. You gotta, hey, look, you don't need to be the first, but when somebody else do it, hey, you need to look at that game plan. Run at your door. If you catch it, you catch it. But let me be a little more direct. So run at your door, but the rest of y'all, hey yo, if my name, image, and likeness is so cold that I get scouted by the major leagues, I'm finna have you repping my jersey since high school, since college, since. And by the time I get to the league, now we can talk about name, image, and likeness, and licensing my brand and jersey number or my independent jersey number, right? Let's get to it. Now you coming in the gate doing the sports you love as a career and as a passion, but having a real revenue to fall back on when your career is over with. Because all the greats had their career over with. LeBron is going to stop playing at some point. That's the truth of the matter. And it might be sooner because I think he announced it in some era that it might be sooner than later. So I want you to think about the later, sooner, so you can enjoy the ride of just playing in your career, right? Now, what do football programs usually offer, right? Increase university visibility, improve recruitment pipelines. So that goes into the, college to the league type of thing. And then they drive local economic spending. So this could be a push to revitalize the south side of Chicago and maybe even extend it from my legit neighborhood, which is the beginning of the hundreds, and 95th. And you can see a cultivation of possibly something similar to the infrastructure plans that they have for Soldier Field, or and when I say Soldier Field, I'm talking about like places in Chicago, y'all, for the listeners that may not be familiar. But the infrastructures for Soldier Field and the infrastructure plans for the Bali casino, right? So and this is what I want you to sit on. Let's go here. What does it mean when a university decides to expand during economical uncertainty? Does it mean that the school or the institution is in trouble or turmoil, or does that mean that they have enough faith in their athletic and academic students, because they are brilliant academic students at Chicago State University? Always, I will never say that. Number one, nobody from my neighborhood, my land, my city, especially being a black man or black woman, are academically inclined. We are brilliant. I believe that. Right? We are brilliant. What does that mean? What could that mean? Right? To me, I believe that they see future demand for us, that they are betting on long term branding and positioning for us, and that they understand that visibility attracts capital. So, what is the wealthy lesson here? Institutions invest in infrastructure before the return, and returns are oblivious, right? Are obvious. Now, are you building infrastructure in your life? Because if you aren't, you need to start somewhere. And the sooner you start, the later, because now we seem to be concerned about the job market. Walmart is putting on a hiring freeze because they're focused on automation, AI. They're focused on. I'm gonna give you a secret, and I mentioned this in a few shows, but when I tell you, this comes from my deep dive into entrepreneurship and the mindset shift around what is gonna make me money. I thought like a CEO instantly. In my mind, I thought like a wealthy man who's worth 8 million, 8 figure number of dollars. Like I thought like that. So when I walked into Walmart for the first time and I seen that there were more self checkouts than there were employed people, I said, oh, they're shifting now and we don't notice it. But when they stop hiring, you gonna notice it. And by that time, especially for the culture, it may be too late. I ain't gonna hold you. Like by that time, you looking up and there hasn't been a sense of stability that we've created, so we don't have to depend on Walmart, which is the oldie but goodie. Walmart was bro. When I tell you in the hood, Walmart was a dependable job, and now they're not hiring because they're going into automation. And did the money stop? Inflation ain't stopped, but yet they stop hiring. I'm just saying, man, you got to put it together. What did I say at the beginning of the show? We need to adapt before we get left behind. Let's talk about the repositioning. Walmart does what? Announced globally a hiring freeze, multi-year investment into automation and AI. Where do we fit into that? We need to understand. Billions redirected into logistic optimization. So they're probably taking a play out of Jeff Bezos' book through the Amazon. And Amazon was already infringing on Walmart's infrastructure as far as Walmart was solidified really as a grocery store. Like it's an all-purpose store and it's called a supermarket, but it is generally and mainly solidified as a grocery store. But when Amazon started doing Amazon Fresh and things like that, they moving in on their turf. Walmart like, oh, okay, you think you can just come over here and buy up real estate and you think you big bad with all the land and you're gonna make Amazon Fresh goods? And I think there's one in Evergreen, which is right outside in Chicagoland area. They're like, okay, bet. How do I keep up with you improving your infrastructure? Let me, as a CEO, and I'm answering this as a CEO, let me cut my costs in employment because the economy still. Where you gonna go? I'm just being a buck with you. Where you gonna go as a go-to to get your groceries? You already don't go to your neighborhood grocery store. And if there is a black grocery store, shout out to 40 Acres, which is out in Chicago. You should go. But if you don't and whatever the travel is, you ain't going. And they know that. Now, what did this mean like economic like for us? Walmart having a hiring freeze. Marcel, what you talking about? Bro, what you like for real? All right, look. So for them, economically, this automation is going to this hour is going to impact you. Labor costs. They're reducing labor costs through the automation. They're reducing what they like to call human error. And they're reducing what they like to call training expenses. So not only do I not have to hire you, I don't have to put somebody on training hours that may implement OT to do this job. I don't. And it lessens my liability because it's warranty, right? And I can get like a group life insurance to or a group warranty package. Now we talked about robotic automation, like full-fledged iRobots walking around Walmart. I just get a warranty for and maybe some safety insurance for like, mechanical mishaps with civilians that may happen. And what is this going to do as an increase on the AI side? Inventory, they call it inventory accuracy. Uh, eh, so I'm going to have a slight real conversation with you when it comes to adapt to get left behind. and I'm gonna say this as a person who still strives to be wealthy, still understand that there is an asset in AI, but there's concern. So when they say inventory accuracy, it means that I don't believe that human beings have the capacity or capability to do more. Have we gotten less intelligent? I really don't believe so. Have we become complacent in education? Yes. Now they say they're demanding forecasting, supply chain efficiencies. They're like, hey, and customer behavior prediction. Here's one thing that I can say that I can see them saying, bro, people don't mind getting their own bags. People really don't mind because you almost really go shopping on your own. And the most thing that I see that is still like to be humanoid is maybe Q&A around the store. And when I call for customer service, this is something that I don't want to talk to. And it may be because I'm speaking my version of fluent in native English. So through that, there is a miscommunication that I sometimes have with AI. So I don't want to be calling Walmart, chopping it up, trying to debate on my layaway and figuring out, and the AI on the other end can't proficiently understand me because of my dialect or accent. I need somebody from the south side of Chicago who stayed in others to be like, hey, oh, you need who off the band to go well and on the back end? Cool. I still find that proficient. I don't need to talk to AI about I won't do that. But for them, it isn't so then this is ideal. As a CEO and as a person who's trying to cut costs here and be efficient there, it's not about firing everybody. For them, it's not. It's about reducing future dependency. And I think people forget that the places they work are a business. It is not, or ever was it, a place for you to commune and get paid at the same time. And I think we, especially as a culture, forget that your job is a place that is a business that pays you for a service. It is not a place that pays you while you commune and create this atmosphere of quote unquote family. Yes, they like to say that Walmart is a family business, but whose family business is it? Now, here's the hard reality of what's about to happen. And Walmart could be the first example, right? First testing ground. And here's the hard reality. Because they stopped as a go-to job with the hiring freeze, the entry level roles of cashiers, cashiers are already almost obsolete. Like they probably cut down 20 about 80% of human operated cashiers. So cashiers is about to be up out of there. Stock associates, or what you call a stocker, that's about to be up out of here. Warehouse labor is over with. So all you back jobs and then admin, data entry. You got about 3 years, bro. And when I say 3 years, I mean 3 years for it to be a completely obsolete and gone position that is operated by humans because they haven't built enough robots. I'm not even, talking on the sci-fi, but they literally just haven't built enough robots to replace the workforce. Now, ask yourself this. If your income depended on repetition, what happens when a machine outperforms your repetition? You gotta adapt or we're gonna be left behind. Now, none of this is to scare you. This is truly a message and a show about preparation for the repositioning and the era we about to go into. And I apologize because this is going to come out this week. Um, Even to saying this in the show, the world has begotten in an uproar. There's conflict and there's worldly conflicts going around, and we hope that the humans on this world don't get caught up in emotion and hopefully can find a peaceful resolution no matter what side or what place you are from, where the sand is or where there's lakes and rivers. I think we should try to find peace because there's a different cycle of economical shift that's happening. Like, I don't want to really use the word revolution, but there's an automation that's going to move you out the way. And I think that we should be prepared for that. Now, I'm sure you've been saying all these things that we be concerned about the repositioning and adapting before we get left behind. But what positions and what moves should we be making? Here's a wealthy strategy and an angle that I think we should take as an entire community. One, skill stack, sales, communication. Shout out to my mentees, especially if you are in Chicago and Chancellor Mentor and I do an effective communication for them. As a catalyst, but communication, tech fluency. Tech fluency is where we are so in deep in tech that now the manual labor jobs that they are pushing into, we are now taking over the tech admin jobs, right? Tech fluency and AI literacy. Ownership stacking, stocks, business equity, side incomes, businesses. App Adaptability from a mindset standpoint, continuous learning. We as a human race do not need to stop being more literate. We actually need to be more literately aware than ever before on every basis of the societal pillar. If I'm talking over your head, you need to know about everything that moves everywhere on every corner around every hood that is made up of your life. Political hood, economic hood, educational hood, job market hood, medical hood, whatever. You need to know what's going on in every hood in order for you to stay ahead and not be left behind. And then stop thinking you solo dolo. Network build. Build a network. Because those are the people you're going to have to rely on when you're your marathon run like me. And you can go all of March. Got 50 copies of my book pulling up on you, especially in the Chicagoland area. $10. We out here. We outside. Now, I definitely believe that you're going to get more than just $10 worth of value from this book. You're going to get a lifetime worth of value from this book. You're going to get a lifetime worth of lessons and real reflections and what the culture was versus where we need to be in regards of when we are making decisions and making trades and making changes in our life. That's what this is about. Now, last but not least, we talked about all that. Let's have a conversation about who is an example that we may be missing because of all the noise and gossip. What is a leading example of a black man doing something that I could say most average men just aren't doing for their community? Is when Newton says the revenue that I'm making from these shows on this network, I'm putting that capital back into my coaching, back into the youth that I train and mentor every day, because most of them are probably going to go to HBCUs. There's a special place in my heart from the coach to always support HBCUs. It's just the truth. And it's because what you get on the surface and underneath that is a cultural reminder of your excellence. Like straight like that. So what is Cam Newton doing? Let me say this again. Cam Newton is putting his dollar, putting his money where his mouth is, putting his paycheck back in the HBCUs. The money that he's earning through media production, through all his shows, he's reinvesting 100% of the earnings into launching the fourth and one college tailgating tour. So all the revenue and impact and influence and the commercials and all the residual income and compound partnership income that is coming from the tour is going into the HBCUs, where I could keep all this money for myself and the generational wealth that it can help me create. I'm putting it back into my culture, because not individualism on generational wealth, cultural shifting on generational wealth. And it's a self-funded initiative. I'm doing the tour because I think that the greatest gift that we can leave, especially as the men of this culture and Black men, is the imprint of leadership. Now, what is this strategically? Hey, bro, what this plan look like? You talking about it so big. What this plan look like? So instead of earning, we're spending. He chose to earn, reinvest, build a platform, build community equity. This is long-term leverage. Now, financially strategic breakdown. What is this? Reinvestment creates what? Brand equity. I can grow and be established for something. Direct audience access, event monetization opportunities can go from, and we're in a creator economy still. So we're going to event monetization opportunities. HBCU Classic. Shout out to the one that's going on in Chicago. That's going to come up around baseball, but like these type of activations, right? These type of event collaborations. So, merchandise control, sponsorship leverage, and then cultural positioning. Anybody else doing this, so I might as well be first. And what does self funding do, and what does it remove? Media gatekeepers, XYZ people saying that you can't come in here because this is for the esteemed and not your everyday. This is for the bourgeoisies and not the ghettoies, right? But because I run this and I fund this, everybody and my mama, we coming to the cookout because that's where I'm from, me and my mama. And corporate restrictions, right? And narrative control, right? We don't need other people telling our stories but us when we talk about this, all right? He owns the experience. The HBCU layer does what? Highlight the alum network, cultural influence, youth pipeline, legacy intuition. This is all strategic alignment. He's building loyalty capital so that he and the rest of us can follow behind, similar to how the impact of Coach Prime on HBCU still left a layer of people to walk through. That's just the truth. That is the truth. But it's loyalty capital often converts into what? Long-term support. He pulls us off. He pulls us off successfully. I will be able to say I admire the fact that he did that. And that will be a part of his legacy as a stamp. Similar to like Jesse Jackson. I don't care about whatever you feel. He is a part of the movement of one of the most pivotal and pinnacle points of Black progression outside of our freedom from physical slavery. Right. And similar to, if I'm going to leave a mark outside of all the gossip, it's going to be this. Right. So long-term support is business partnerships and community backing. Right. This is the thing. Ownership ain't about money. People think, oh, I got all the money. I'm the owner. I'm a boss. Woo. It's not about money. It's about controlling my narrative, controlling the opportunities for my community. Now I'm gonna ask you this. Are you building something that pays you or something that positions you? What you doing? Now, we had talked about college on the front end, college on the back end, Walmart. Like, what? How does this all fall? It's about being wealth. We come here to be wealthy. You come here to learn how to change your money story and implement some of the things that we talked to, especially when we're going to like next week. I'm going to get into more stocks. For me, as the wealthy mentor, but I got you. But you're here to learn the wealthy mindset first. Now, how does this all connect? Chicago State Institutional Infrastructure Investment. Walmart is corporate efficiency, and they're relocating, right? They move it around, so how should we move? And then Cam Newton is showing you, next entrepreneur, the next athlete, next individual, how personal capital can be a reinvestment into us as a culture. All three of these are repositioning for future leverage. And I don't think the economy is collapsing right now, but there is a constriction and concentration of power that we need to be prepared for. And I'm going to leave you with this, and I'm going to have you ponder with these 3 questions. Shout out to my boy. What skills are you building that automation cannot replace? What assets are you building that generate real leverage for you? And then what are your reinvestments from your income? So like I reinvest my profits into my long-term portfolio. That's a real thing. I reinvest my profits into expanding and pushing my business, which is why I have this 50K. Like that came from a trade. The inventory for my business, for my book, that is a conversation of truth about the culture, came from the profits of me trading. That's why I'm able to stock up the inventory and say, hey, we're going to run this as a marathon, because the culture needs to have a conversation. And we've been misinformed on how we're educating each other, our family dynamics on money. So with that, the institutions are building, corporations are optimizing, but leaders, especially if you're going to be one, they reinvesting. The only question left is you? Look, so with that being said, I'm your host, Marcel. This is Wealthy Sibling. And like, share, subscribe. And we appreciate y'all. Good show. As